Good morning. Thank you for coming back to my channel. Today I'm doing a live stream interview with Alex Staniforth, and this is the first episode of a series I'm calling Inspirational Invitational. The idea is I'm going to invite inspirational people onto my channel to interview them and to talk about their journeys and their story. Some inspiration. Alex.
Hey Rich, good to be here today.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I think I lost signal then.
Oh, that's all right, mate. Yeah, welcome to the channel, mate.
Yeah, hi Rich, good. No, it's good to be on and good to chat about the journey so far, really.
Yeah, and I mean, your journey's been pretty epic, and there's a huge clue in the background on your screen as to what this might be about.
Kind of spoils the story a bit, really.
So you could and just talk us through your journey, mate, and your story.
Well, I'll give you the short version. I guess I wrote a book on it, so that's kind of don't want to keep you all here all day. But so obviously met yourself through the Olympic torch in 2012. Prior to that, I guess early childhood was challenging for a variety of reasons, and found the outdoors and found kind of outdoor challenges as a way to overcome kind of personal challenges I had. So with epilepsy, with stammering, with bullying, with mental health, and the outdoors gave me some confidence to kind of aim high. So from being the kid that came last in sports day to having this goal to climb Everest when I was older. And, you know, the words "live the dream" were very true, and basically started to follow that goal, putting the steps in place. I went to my Everest, my first attempt in 2014. Prior to that, for charity fundraising and climbing Mont Blanc, got to carry the Olympic torch, which was a huge honour. And I guess it inspired me to go on and do even more things. And my first Everest attempt went quite badly wrong with a big avalanche. So I raised the money and did more training. I went back the following year. And 2015 was when the earthquake hit Nepal. And that went even more wrong. And I'm pretty lucky to still be here. And so I've been on more expeditions since then, but it's inspired a lot of charity fundraising for Nepal, for the earthquake, also more recently for mental health. And I guess my journey is about overcoming personal challenges through physical challenges, and now trying to inspire other people to overcome theirs. I'm a motivational speaker. I'm speaking to schools, to businesses, to charities, to events. I've been doing that for about 4 years now. An author, released my book 2 years ago, and ambassador for a few businesses and a few charities. So it's great to be able to share that journey with as many people as possible. And to add to all that, I'm a keen road and trail runner, racing sort of 5K up to half marathon, first marathon coming up soon. And yeah, it's been an exciting few years, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've packed all of this in. And how old are you?
22 now.
So 22 years old. You've got your own book. You've been up Everest twice on the slopes of Everest. You've been at various other mountains, and you've done all kinds of different things. And here I am, 35 years old, and I haven't done half the things you've done. How do you manage to pack it all in?
Thank you for the compliment. I mean, I don't know. I've been very, very driven, and I think Everest kind of came out of the blue as a random goal, and I think it seemed to be the ultimate thing that I could overcome after my personal challenges at school. My epilepsy just left me a nervous wreck for so many years, and I kind of didn't want to be held back anymore. I didn't want to miss an opportunity, and that gave me this fire. And I think to be able to achieve something like Everest, it has to be your life. You have to go at it 100%, and everything happened pretty quickly. I think I don't feel I've achieved enough. Age to me is irrelevant. I've realised on Everest with the avalanche and the earthquake just how fragile life is, and that's why I'm just trying to make the biggest difference I can, really. And that's what drives me to, I think, just to work hard. These things happen through a lot of time and effort, and the fundraising, especially as you know yourself, for your own fundraising is very time consuming. But I think once I left school, so we're talking 5 years ago now, I just worked on it full time, and now adventure and motivation has become my full-time job, and I'm very lucky that that allows me to focus on that and taking on more projects. But I think really it's I don't know, it's just a drive. You know, the Olympic torch showed me what happens when we challenge ourselves, and made me just want to cram in as much as possible.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you talked about fundraising there and the time that it takes, but I think you'll agree with me on that when in that mind doing with my time, probably something not very constructive. So you may as well focus your energies into something constructive. And you know, you've done all sorts in money for different charities over the years. Talk to me about your recent challenge of going up all of the highest peaks in the UK.
So last summer was Climb the UK, which was my own kind of challenge that I put together. It had only really been done like twice before by a guy called Johnny Muir, who is a very experienced trail and road runner and fell runner. He's releasing a new book himself, actually, called The Mountains Are Calling Out. It's coming out in May. Really excited that I've actually written the forward for that. And basically, it was climbing to the highest point of all the counties in the UK. So not necessarily the highest peaks, because a lot of them in a lot of the counties weren't peaks. They were like, as I found in Kent, it was in a lady's back garden. The highest part of Buckinghamshire, as you know, is Wendover Woods. So that was literally a little stone in a forest. And that was all human powered. I mean, apart from obviously some ferries, walking, running, cycling. I even kayaked to the Isle of Wight because I could. 5,000 miles in about 72 days. So that was the bulk of the challenge. Now, the aim of it, obviously, by going to the highest point of all the counties, was to not only fundraise for mental health, but also to give an example of somebody being open about it. I mean, it's something that I've personally struggled with for 5 or 6 years now, and the outdoors and running are a big tonic in that relationship. But not only fundraising, but actually just getting people to be open about it. People were coming out and joining me and walking and running with me and cycling with me, and to show that it affects everybody everywhere. So the money goes to a charity called Young Minds, who are improving treatment and support for young people suffering with mental health, because 1 in 4 people in the UK now suffer with it, which is shocking. And as I've experienced myself, there's a real lack of help. So that's why I wanted to try and fill that gap, really. But by sharing the journey, by speaking about it, just raising awareness, showing that it's not a weakness, actually talking about our struggles is the greatest sign of strength. And it achieved just that, really. I was blown away by the support I had. And on a personal basis, the challenge was so rewarding. You know, we have so many amazing places in the UK that most of us have never even seen. And said it was a bit different. You know, Johnny did it a few years ago, and he did it in the same style, you know, walking, cycling, and that's why it was quite new and it was exciting, and also the hardest thing I've done. But in the end, it raised nearly £25,000 for Young Minds, which was more than £15,000 over the target.
That's fantastic.
And so I was nearing the £25,000 mark. So last November, I thought, well, what can I do? So that led to the Pride of Britain winning fundraiser of the year for my region, for the Northwest, which was great. A huge surprise. And that inspired me to go and do the Ride of Britain. So basically cycling from home to Edinburgh, which is 310 miles. I tried to do it in 24 hours. The weather was awful. It was like -1. So I didn't achieve that, but I kept going until I got there. And it took me about 31 hours, and that raised enough to push it over. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's just an example there of your whole attitude of overcoming adversity, because even when things aren't going to plan, like there, you were behind the schedule you wanted, but it doesn't dissuade you from carrying on, does it? You just keep pushing on. So how do you find the motivation to keep going on these things?
That's a good point. You said that, you know, almost I didn't achieve my target and have to keep on going. And I think any runner, any athlete, anybody in life has these kind of goalposts, and suddenly they change. And I actually did a blog post about it last weekend because I was talking about marathon training, and suddenly your plan changes and you have to motivate yourself for the new plan. It's almost like running a marathon and suddenly they kind of add another 5 miles on. It's like, whoa, I wasn't planning for that. And I think really it's built up over time. You know, when I first got into the outdoors, my first kind of big challenge when I was 16 was the 3 peaks. And, you know, I think every time you challenge yourselves, you kind of raise that threshold and you realize that you're capable of achieving more and more. And
didn't you get a Guinness World Record on 3 peaks?
Not a Guinness World Record. I mean, there was a very loose record for
being the youngest.
The youngest at the time to do it on my own in terms of all the walking and planning on my own. But it was, to be honest, it was more, I was using that more as a fundraising thing to get people to donate rather than a record. I mean, 4 years later, I did it again, but on my bike. So a bit like Greg James recently, Ben Nevis, Scarford, Pike and Snowdon, cycling 450 miles between them. And that was self-supported. Now, not many people had done it at the time, and I was definitely the youngest and the first person to do that completely on my own. I want to have another go at that, actually. But in terms of what keeps me motivated, I think, yeah, as you achieve more and more and challenge yourself more and more, it's like running. You might only be able to run 5K, but once you've done that, you realise you can do 10K and so on and so on. And you kind of build that mental resilience. And I think for me, with Everest, I was afraid of failure. You know, I'd committed myself. I knew that if I didn't give 100%, I wasn't going to get there. And now, after actually realizing that, you just apply that principle to everyday life. And I think sometimes you don't really have a choice. You know, you're on the bike in the middle of nowhere, you're wet, you're cold, you have to keep on moving.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And I was just going to talk about your running because I remember when we first met each other online through the Olympic torch stuff. And I saw this photo of you. I'm going to hold it up here, look.
Oh, no, don't.
Coming second, I think it was, in the Tatton 10K, wasn't it?
It was. God, those are the days. I mean, yeah, just about there, you know, just to go back to before, I mean, the Olympic torch was one of these unexpected surprises that come as a result of challenging yourself. And it's great because I got to meet so many people like yourself, and here we are, you know, 6 years later talking about it. And the Olympic torch really inspired me as well to think, if I'm going to challenge myself, like doing the 3 peaks, doing Mont Blanc, what else would it lead to? And that also really inspired my Everest goal as well. And that photo was when I was just getting into running. So I found the outdoors, as I said, kind of by chance. Before that, I hated sport. I was unfit, no confidence, no self-esteem. I was kind of the kid that came last at sports day, one of those, you know. And I started doing a lot of cycling. And then my dad was a runner, so I kind of started running because of him. He was a marathoner. He's ran London, I think, 3 times. And I think I saw a race, a 10K race, so I entered that. And as you'll relate, as a lot of runners will relate, once you do a race, you get the bug. You want to do more and more.
Absolutely.
and that photo, that hideous photo you showed, was actually a pretty pivotal moment because I finished second in the 10K, and interestingly, my race number was number 2. It was almost like it knew. And in the process of entering races, I took it a lot more seriously. I joined a club, and then obviously got on a proper training plan, got fairly decent, started improving, and that race for me was, yeah, a really, really proud moment. I have beaten that 10K time since, but it took me 6 years because that was just before the Olympic torch. And the same year as the torch, I ended up injured for nearly a year, so I couldn't run. You kind of make all this progress and suddenly you're in pain. You can't run for such a long time. And we've all been there. We know how horrible that is. It turned out to be a growth spurt rather than an injury. And I probably saw every physio, every specialist in Cheshire. But it was actually kind of quite important that I did get injured because it meant that I had to put my time into something else. And it also led me to being pretty depressed for a long time, and that's kind of led to me fundraising for mental health now, because I've been there. And that was when the Everest goal kind of happened, because I kind of thought, okay, I can't run. What am I going to do next? And that's when I said in 2014, I'm going to climb Everest. And I nearly did, had it not been for the avalanche. But because of that, when I got back to running, I kept getting injuries. So I just realized that Everest was too much money to risk getting injured. So that's why I started cycling. Training was more focused on hill walking and cycling. And then I kind of came back to running a few times over the years, but Everest was the priority. You know, you have to focus. And when I kind of abandoned Everest, you know, and all the big peaks, I thought, you know what, I've been dying to get properly back into running, and I have. And now I'm faster than I've ever been. I'm running for my club again, and I'm pretty much back to where I was. And it's so good to be back. I'm loving it.
Ah, good. And I've just had a look at the live chat whilst you've been talking there. And Andy, who's the FOD runner on YouTube, he says, wow, this chap is something else. What's his blog? How can people find you online on your social media and your blog and everything?
Thank you, Andy. I do all the usual social media stuff. The best place to go would be my website, which is alexstaniforth.com. People can never spell my surname. It's Staniforth. And I did a blog last weekend actually about how to overcome setbacks, you know, with training, with life. It's all pretty relevant. So please have a look on there, and you can find links to my social media on there too.
Okay, and if people want to hear more about Everest, you've got a book. How can we find your book, mate?
I'll grab a copy. Hang on. 2 seconds.
That's all right, mate. I remember actually you did a video when you were launching your book, and I said to you, why don't you actually climb a peak and physically launch the book?
Yes, that's right. You gave me a really good idea. Well, firstly, I really hope people didn't see all my embarrassing pictures in my room when I turned the camera around. My bedroom's a bit archaic. That's the book, Icefall, endorsed by Bear Grylls himself, which I'm pretty chuffed about. And you did give me that really good idea when I was in the Pyrenees, just a week before the book was launched it was just 2 years ago last week, actually. And so, as you said, here's my book launch, and I threw it about 100 feet down the peak behind me. It was great. So people can get a copy of that through my website, which is cheaper than Amazon, and I can sign it as well. And there's a lot about my running in there as well.
Yeah, and then of course the next running challenge for you is you're going to be doing the big 26.2 miles at the Manchester Marathon, right?
That's right. Yeah. So, I mean, as you can imagine, I could talk about that all day. It's a passion, and I love talking about it. And again, I've run a marathon twice before, but it was always kind of in training. So it was kind of I just want to see what it feels like. I'd race sort of 5K up to half marathon, and I really enjoy racing. Done a bit of fell racing and trail racing, but yeah, just the last year or so, been getting back into running seriously. And with my challenge, Climb the UK last year, because it was more of a walk and a cycle than a run, I kind of got to my peak fitness, and I was getting PBs and winning stuff, and then I lost all that, and I always had to start again because I've been away and I lost about a stone and a bit while I was away.
Yeah, I think I could put a link to that video, your Climb the UK video. I'll put a link below this after we go off live, and people can see in that video how much weight you'd lost, because you were burning so many calories doing that.
I was, because I was on the bike, sometimes up to 18 hours. I was doing 18 hours, doing 120-mile days, and not eating enough. And yeah, I look like Mo Farah in that. I'm so thin, and I just look so weak. I look really ill, actually. And I definitely wasn't running as quickly as him by the end of that. I mean, I literally got to the finish line and I saw a mum and just collapsed. I was that weak. And so back to the marathon, I think because of that challenge, Climb the UK took so much out of me. And it took me probably a month or probably 2 months to get back to normal. I had to put the weight back on and get over the fatigue. I realised, it was going to be a while before I could do a big challenge again. Climb the UK was harder than Everest, than Choa, which was a peak I tried and failed 2 years ago. And I thought to myself, I want to do something for myself. I love running, I love being at home, and I want to actually properly focus on it for a while, rather than getting to peak and then having to start again because I'm going to go away on expeditions. And so for this year, I'm kind of stuck writing my next book. As I said before, I'm a motivational speaker, so I do a lot of talks, and that means I need to be at home. So I wanted a challenge that kind of ticks me over for a while I'm kind of working on things at home. And I was always curious how I would do in a marathon, because I've never really been that quick, but I've kind of built quite a lot of endurance for my challenges. And the last time I did a marathon was last year, when it was Easter Sunday and I wanted more chocolate. So I thought, I'm going to run the full distance. And yeah, it's just been a curiosity. And I think I decided that when I did a marathon, I wanted to run sub 3. We all know it has that elusive sub 3 target, and I thought I want to do this properly. I want to start with sub 3, which I know is a bit ambitious. It's probably a bit daft for my first one. But I think I wanted to be in a position where I could commit myself properly. And since January, it has been my focus. Anything else, cycling, I haven't done. I just ran, and I've loved it. I've been injured 4 times, but I'm just over 2 weeks away now, and I'm really in really good form. Been very, very lucky with the injuries and the help I've had. And Manchester being close to home, I live near Chester. It's the flattest, it's the fastest, probably my best chance of getting sub 3. And yeah, I've really enjoyed being properly committed. As you know yourself, the plan can be hard at times. We have the setbacks. But on race day, all I need to do is hopefully everything will come together.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously I've run a few marathons, and I know from experience those last miles, what they're all about really is about the mental toughness that you've got to keep going, push through that pain barrier. And knowing you how I know you, that is exactly how you operate. So, up here, you've got all the relevant skills to get it done. And I wish you the best of luck, mate. I still haven't got the sub 3 myself. So, if you get it, I'll be high-fiving you like mad.
Yeah, cheers, thank you. I mean, I hope so. I think there's something about that number, and looking at my training so far, I think that I think it's possible. I think, as you say, it's a mental game, and I often say that I've never run a marathon. I've just run a mile 26 times, and I think realistically you've got to have the engine as well. I mean, I often say that the engine is only as good as the steering wheel up here, but equally, you can't push your body beyond its limit that much. And I think from speaking to a lot of people, and I think over the years getting this kind of taster for a marathon, I think, yeah, a lot of it is being able to stay positive, to focus, to be disciplined, to not go off too fast. And I'd say I'm quite good in races in that I'm not very quick, but I'm able to pace myself properly, in that most people go off too fast and I pass them, and I just kind of steadily cruise through. But it is very new to me. People say that the marathon starts at mile 20. And I'm sure you've experienced that as well. But I think I've got a fairly good background from my challenges in that, yeah, I'm able to suffer. And people talk about this wall of pain, and I'm really excited to find out what that's like. I think that'll be something that works.
Mate, you'll laugh at it when you get there.
Well, yeah. To be honest, I probably won't. I'll probably be in bits because I normally get to that point. But I think the mental toughness is. I'm not worried about the mental toughness. And people say about, doing all the long training runs, all the 22 milers is tough. But for me, to go on a run for 2 or 3 hours on my own has been great. I've loved it. I've not struggled with the motivation too much. It's more about the injuries that have been a real pain, but every marathoner gets it. Now it's all the taper tantrums, as we call them. And like, I did 4 miles at pace yesterday, and it's thinking, crikey, this is harder than it should be. But it's all about staying positive, and yeah, hopefully the pieces will come together. But I think I think the engine's there. I'm just worried about what it's going to be like in those last few those last few miles, and I've definitely had to learn a lot. But that's what makes a marathon so rewarding.
Yeah, it's definitely hard at the end, and as long as you go into it knowing that, you use the word suffer. Yeah, you're going to suffer. That's all part of it. But my best advice is if you're going for sub-3, and you do find at the end that you're slipping off slightly, keep in mind that 3:05 is a B goal, really, because that's your good for age time for London Marathon, to qualify for the Boston Marathon and all these other big city marathons. So even if you think, well, I know I'm not going to get the sub-3, just hang on for that sub-3:05. It's only like 11 or 12 seconds a mile difference. So if you just hang in there, it opens up the doors to get into so many other races that are really tough to get into on ballots and things like that. So just keep that in the back of your mind.
Sure, because I think I'm pretty confident. From mothering so many people that have run marathons like yourself for advice and for help, and I'm pretty confident that I've got that benchmark. But as we all know, it depends how you feel on the day, and I think my key will be to pace myself properly and to stay calm when things get tough. You think, okay, I'm starting to drop off the average now, but when I've ran it for sort of 10 miles now. I've run a couple of half marathons, and it feels doable. But I think it's also much as a challenge around the nutrition, which I really struggle with as well, because I've never really raced beyond half marathon before. But I've got a half marathon on Sunday, and that'll be hopefully a confidence boost. And we'll see really. But as you say, that you need a goal A and a goal B. To be honest, my A goal will be 2:59.59. It's still a sub-3 hour.
Exactly.
Because I think I read that only 2% of marathoners get under sub-3 hours, probably less than that. And I think I've always kind of wanted to be different. I've never wanted to do the conventional thing, and it's kind of typical for me that I do things and they go badly wrong, and that's kind of my story, really. So I'll probably finish finishing the marathon covered in blood and probably with a broken leg, but I'll still get there.
Have a good story to tell.
Absolutely, yeah. So it should be great, and I believe the crowds at Manchester are really good, and just hope we don't have the weather we've had recently.
Yeah, I know there's been a lot of race cancellations with the snow and the beast from the east and all that, and it's been affecting it all. But fingers crossed that's all behind us now, and you'll have a nice weather, and everything will go well for you on the day, mate.
I hope so. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, I know you've got to get off because you're going to Lakes, aren't you? So we'll wrap things up. But just anybody who wants to follow Alex's journey going forward, you can obviously find him on his website, alexstaniforth.com, as he said. He's on social media as well, on Instagram. Once we go off live, I'll try and add all the links to all your things below, mate, so people can click and have a look at all of that. And I'll put some of your videos on there as well, links to your videos about the challenges you've done, so people can see for themselves what we've been talking about. So thanks very much for coming on. So you're the first one on this Inspirational Invitational series. So hopefully, right, a story is all about. She's pretty inspirational as well, but I won't spoil it. Tune in next week for that one, and I'll announce the time and the date thing that I'm getting on my Twitter. All right, thanks very much, Alex.
Cheers, Rich. It's always a pleasure, and thank you for having me on the show. And it's great to connect with other like-minded people. And as you know, from the last 6 years, as you know, I can talk all day. So I'm quite impressed you've managed to keep it down to half an hour. But no, it's been a pleasure. And and if anybody wants to, ask any advice, I mean, instead, I'm still very much learning. I'm still a novice. I'm always injured, so probably not the best person to ask. But please do follow the journey to get in touch. And it's a pleasure to be part of your show. Always enjoy your blogs and your passion and your fundraising. So I'll no doubt see you on a run sometime soon.
Yeah, thanks very much, mate. And just one more thing I'd get you to say actually is, who are you currently fundraising for, and how can people donate?
Well, at the moment, because I tend to do like a big challenge, a big project every year, and running is more of a personal thing. It's a personal escape every day. I just go out the door and run, and I love it. So I don't really run for charity, but I'm planning to do more for mental health. There's so much more that needs to be done. I've got this event in the Lake District called Mine Over Mountains, which is not a charity event, but it's more about helping people to get to experience the benefits of the outdoors for mental health themselves, so people can find out more about that via my social media. I'm leading an event on the 19th of May for Nepal for a charity called Phase Worldwide. So that's helping disadvantaged people that were affected by the earthquake and other areas. So if people do want to donate to that, or come and join us on Ben Nevis in May. Again, there's links to that on my website as well. But just keep tuning, because I will be doing another charity project probably at some point later this year. There's more running ideas, there's more plans, but maybe save that for another interview.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, mate. And so everybody who's been watching this, as usual, if you've liked the video, please do give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel for more content like this and running related content. And if you click the little bell as well, you'll get a notification every time I post a new video. Thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you on the next video.
Thanks, guys.